international rules-based world order, which came into being after the Second World War, was created to maintain America's hegemony over the globe. It wasn't created for fairness, it wasn't created for justice, and it wasn't created to be used against America or her allies. Let's take a look. So Venezuela is just the latest example showing America's total disregard for the rules-based world order. So democracy and the international rules-based world order isn't there to bring about the change, it is there to maintain the status quo. So some Muslims thought that using democracy or the international world order and its institution was a way to bring Islam back into the political arena. Not just at the national level, but also at the international level. So Muslims in the early 90s tried to bring about an Islamic political change in Algeria through the democratic process, and they got huge amount of support from the public.
Outside, the men come from the poorest areas of town, the unemployed and the disenchanted, to back the fundamentalist cause. And their slogans are simple. There's no God but Allah, Muhammad is his prophet.
But as soon as they began to win, the elections were nullified and France supported the Algerian military that cracked down on the Muslims, cracked down on the political movements and created a civil war that lasted for many years and brought the deaths of many people. In 2012, when democracy was used in Egypt to bring Islam into the political arena and Morsi won the election, he was arrested, put in prison and killed. In 2006, when Hamas used the democratic process to come to power, not a single democratic Western power accepted the result. And we find similar things happening in Jordan, in Tunisia and in Kuwait, where laws were passed or assemblies were nullified and changes put in place to stop Islam coming to power. So the democratic process has failed to bring about political change in the Muslim world. And as I have said many times before, trying to bring Islamic change through the democratic process is like expecting a baby from a gay marriage. And if after all these Muslims still have hope in democracy, maybe they're actually suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Now, some Muslims thought by accepting the status quo and strengthening the Muslim nation state, this was a way in order to achieve some progress. Not only was this misguided, it actually gave credibility to the status quo and to the rule-based world order, and it gave longevity to this global mafia-like protection racket headed by America. In 2003, America invaded and bombed Iraq along with most of the nations of the world, including the Muslim nations, against the rules that they themselves obliged others to obey. According to the UN, they needed a resolution in order to bomb Iraq. They didn't wait for that. They just went in, invaded and bombed it. Their program of extraordinary rendition, where they abducted and tortured people, this was illegal, but they didn't care. Their secret prisons around the world doing what they called enhanced torture, this was illegal, but they didn't care. Guantanamo Bay went against the habeas corpus and the Geneva Conventions. America didn't care. So all these violations and flagrant disregard for international law, not once have they been held to account and brought to book. The excuse they used to invade Iraq was chemical weapons, weapons of mass destruction. America herself has used weapons of mass destruction. America herself has used chemical weapons. They used Agent Orange in Vietnam and killed many civilians, yet they don't care. And the current genocide in Gaza, this is an open book. The crimes, the torture, the violations are recorded and uploaded on TikTok by the perpetrators of this genocide, knowing full well that America has her back and America doesn't care. So the so-called rule-based world order is akin to a mafia-led global protection racket that even makes the real mafia look like Boy Scouts. No institution and no state is going to hold them to account and stop the corruption that they spread, other than the Khilafah state. So the only valid world order that can bring peace and stability to the globe is a world where a Khilafah Rashida exists in order to protect the weak and the oppressed against the tyranny and the excesses of the liberal secular elite that have wreaked havoc on this earth. China is never going to do that, and no socialist state is ever going to emerge to do that. Only Islam can do that through the Khilafah state, which is why it is our responsibilities as Muslims to offer this as the only alternative and to work for this as the only alternative. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.